So I hand it over to Lynn now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Pacharee, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. So today we're going to look at, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to look at IndiVideo. This is a digital, there we go. This is a digitally driven interactive video platform, right? So this is a personalized video platform, and it is driven by data. So what does that mean? Well, typically videos that are not personalized, standard videos, are made once and they're the same for everybody. What our technology does is it takes that video and adds a layer of personalization so that it actually makes it unique for each and every viewer. So there are a couple of ways we do that. And what I'm going to do in a couple of minutes is show a couple of examples. It's probably the easiest way to see how this works. So I'll show an example. But just to start out, a couple of ways that we can deliver personalized video and get the information in there is true personalization, meaning you could already be a client. We already know something about you. And so we can use your first name. We could use some account information, could be location, other things that are going to personalize, and you'll see in a minute how that works. You could also not be a known customer. You could be just someone who's really looking to get information on products or services in different verticals. And so we use interactivity. We can ask questions, and based on that, we can personalize. All this happens in real time, right? So this isn't created beforehand. When you click to say, yep, I want to see my personalized video, that's when it's actually created. You'll see that there's calls to action in there, meaning that when we talk about the impact of this technology, and there's been a lot of impact, it's not just measured in engagement. In other words, how much people are actually watching any of these videos, but what they're doing based on watching them. So are they taking an action? Are they purchasing something? Are they looking to find out more? Are they connecting to have a meeting? And so those are actually actions that we measure. And all of this is a full SaaS model. In other words, this technology is able to be used by our partners and by companies who have video resources, and they're able to make these videos themselves. So without going too much further, I think what I'll do is I will show a personalized video, and hopefully my audio is working. Just hang on one sec. I'm going to actually just stop share for a sec, make sure that the audio comes across okay. So hang on just a second. Great. So this is an example out of one of our partners in Latin America. I like to show this example because it's actually a case study wrapped around the actual personalized video. So it kind of explains how the technology works, what the goals were of this specific, this one happens to be a pension statement. Pension statements tend to be long, they're boring, there's a lot of text. So we made a personalized video version out of it. So without any further ado, let's have a look.
Statements are typically the most frequent and often the only touchpoint companies have with their customers. Yet while statements have evolved, they've remained text-based for decades. This means your customers have to read through, find, and understand the information they need. In many cases, people will glance at their statement but not read through the details. They are often missing important information that they may need to understand their account details and options. But now, statements are about to transform. Introducing the personalized video super statement. Let's look at a real example. AFP Habitat is the largest pension fund manager in Chile with 2.1 million customers. Each month, they send out 2.1 million text-based statements via email. Open rates, engagement, and conversation to improve pensions was very low. AFP Habitat decided to use IndiVideo technology to create a personalized video pension statement. It uses the same email already sent to customers with their regular statements, but now adds the option to see their personalized video statement.
Hi, here is an AFP Habitat video to explain your pension savings statement for March 2019. Your total voluntary savings is this amount and is distributed as follows. From the total amount shown, this is the investment you've made in Habitat. And this amount is the profit you've earned. Out of the last 12 months, you've contributed 10 months to your voluntary savings account. Remember to contribute each month, since gaps in your contributions in 2019. This is the amount we estimate you'll receive in monthly pension income.
The personalized video can also be interactive. In this case, it can pause to ask clients if they feel their projected pension will meet their needs.
Do you feel your pension will meet your retirement goals? Okay, you feel you may need more from your pension. Don't worry, you're not alone. What amount do you feel you'll need in retirement?
The personalized video can then update itself in real time to provide new information.
Okay, based on getting your monthly pension to this amount, here's how much you would need to add to your current contribution to get there by age 65.
This interaction transforms the statement from one-way communication into a two-way interaction. This allows you to provide a new level of service while gaining important new customer learnings.
AFP Habitat. Let us help you achieve your goals. Click here to update your monthly contribution amount, or speak to your advisor.
The calls to action, and in this case advisor information, can also be dynamically personalized. The result to AFP Habitat was a 4 times conversion improvement with the personalized video. And over 90% of customers surveyed stated they better understood their pensions.
I'm going to stop there. Hopefully everyone's able to see and hear that okay. And give a little bit of context to that. So what do these numbers mean? 4 times conversion improvement. That's a big number. That's 400%. And what that means is, this company has over 2 million customers. I mean, this is a large client. We have lots of small and medium clients as well. So out of those 2 million customers, those, they send out emails every month with those statements where they can go online and see their statements. Out of the total group, those who see the personalized video are converting at 4 times the rate than those who don't. So that's what that conversion improvement means. And that's actually a really detailed measurement in their case. What they're doing is they're tracking whether an individual customer actually watched the video or not, and then opening up a 3-month window and seeing, did they contribute more to their pension? And that's a conversion. 90% better understood their pension. That's self-reporting. Those are the customers themselves filling out a little survey and answering if the personalized video helped them understand their pension better. And so over 90% said they did. So, and we see this a lot, that it makes it easier for people to understand, because most of these communications, not just in a pension statement, not just in any statement, any product you're looking for online, typically most of the information you're going to get is text-based. You're going to read. And so what this does is it lowers the bar. People will not spend a lot of time reading and figuring out all of their products, what their options are. So this makes it easier for customers to actually get the key points they need quickly and then decide if they want to take an action, but it'll be an informed decision. They will understand where they stand. And as you saw, this can combine interactivity along with the ability to actually see. This combines interactivity along with the ability to get personalized data that we already know about you. So what I'd like to do, though, is show another example over here, and I'm going to show a mortgage example. And this one is an example where we don't know the customer at all, right? So let's have a quick look at this, and you're going to see how we use just interaction of a couple of quick questions to personalize. So in this case, the challenge was, this is Navy Federal. This is the world's largest credit union with 9 million customers, so a lot of volume. But typically customers in something big like a mortgage, you know, reading through all the different mortgages, which one's right for me, it's a big challenge. So what the challenge for us was, can you help our customers interact and then get a mortgage recommendation right in the online channel? So we'll show you how that works.
Hi. Let's figure out which Navy Federal mortgage is right for you. First, some easy questions to find the best match. Have you, or a spouse if you're married, served in the military?
And so I'll just answer here and I'll say we've not.
Okay. How long do you plan to be in your home?
And I'll say more than 5 years.
Are you planning to put any money down?
I'll say 5% or more.
Great. Thanks for answering these questions. Because you said your down payment would be 5% or more, consider our conventional fixed-rate mortgage. This home loan has one of our lowest interest rates, and the predictability of consistent principal and interest payments makes it easier to budget. This mortgage requires only 5% down with no private mortgage insurance payments, so you save money each month. Find out how much you can borrow. Click Apply Now to submit an application and get pre-approved. Thank you for choosing Navy Federal.
So that's how it works. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. But what it does is, as a customer, it allows me to answer a couple questions and get a recommendation. That's a little closer to how a human would do it. If you had a mortgage expert there with you, they'd ask you some questions and then they'd say, hey, I think this type of mortgage might work for you. So what we see is this technology is filling in some of the missing human advice that you would normally get, which is missing typically in the digital channel, where there's a lot of work to read through and figure it out. And by making it easier, we're getting a big lift. So we see that this is actually one of the highest performing personalized videos on the entire platform. And it's actually quite simple. But what's behind it, what's making it work is really the same principle, is that, you know, we're filling in some of the missing pieces that are allowing people to get something closer to a human experience, an easier experience. And this is accelerating the digital journey, their ability to actually transact in the digital channel. So Pacharee, we'll come back. I'll put up a little deck over here, and if you'd like to, you know, have a couple of questions and we can have a little conversation around it, that would be great.
About you want to discuss the videos now. So that's interesting because I didn't know the Navy Federal, the customer base was so large. You know, there are so many ways to improve, you know, the customer journey on their online experience. And now with, you know, COVID and hello, is somebody else? Could you please mute your mic? Okay. There's so many ways of enhancing the customer experience. What do you, why did you decide, you know, BlueRush decided to create IndiVideo as a way to facilitate this process?
Well, that's an interesting question. I'll tell you a story of how we first developed it, which was, in a sense, almost an accident. This goes back over 10 years, 2008. We had a large insurance client named Manulife, and we were doing regular videos and calculators and helping people figure out their mortgage. We tried a personalized video, but it was done in Flash back then, and it was really not coded in a way that we thought it would even work. But it, you know, we tried it online, it started to work. And next thing you know, we're hearing that there's all kinds of people that are converting based on this thing. And then they wanted to open it up to everyone. And we said, well, we hope it doesn't break, and it didn't. And it was a real lesson for us in seeing that just by, you know, making it easier for people to get the information, They were converting on something as complex as a mortgage, maybe the most complex, biggest decision people ever make. So based on that, we started developing it. But really, it's because video already combines a lot of the human elements: audio, images, storytelling capability, and then personalization on top of it really completed it. So we didn't see this as a fad or the next cool thing. We saw this as a real improvement in the way we could communicate and interact online. And then we wanted to add interactivity again to make it more human. So the decision to do this was really based on proving what we had seen, that it actually works for people, and being quite convinced that as we could inch our way closer to a more human experience online using personalization and interactivity along with video, that this would be something that would endure, that wouldn't just be kind of a fad that would go in and out. And it has. It's been over 10 years now, and it's really starting to pick up speed.
I imagine with all this work from home and people not being able to engage, usually they're right inside the, insurance counter or the bank counter. It sounds like this product is very good for like a high touch, right? So mortgages, car buying, insurance. Do you also do that in the field of education as well, like planning for, how much you need to put away for, to send your kid off to university?
Yeah, there's lots of examples really across all kinds of products. There are savings examples. We've done some in Europe recently where we track your savings goals and we tell you how you're doing. And we can even show you a projection. Are you going to reach, if we know you want to reach it by a certain time frame, or we'll show you if you're on track to do that or not, and then how you can, like you saw with AFP Habitat, how you can adjust it even right during the video and say, oh, okay, if I'm not going to get there, how much more do I have to save to make my goal? So we're really, the technology can really do any kind of product or service. It's not limited. A lot of what we've done is in the financial area because that's where we initially came from and where we've developed, but we're starting to see examples now in insurance. We're seeing them in real estate where listings are personalized. For each listing, there's a video. We're starting to see them in healthcare, which again is complex, and people understanding their healthcare options. So it's really starting to spread as we're globalizing this technology across all kinds of different industries and products.
Mm. Let's talk about ROI. What impact have your customers seen from using this technology?
Sure. So, here's a couple of numbers that I would say are just average across the board, right? So what we're seeing here, this 40%, this is an average conversion lift, right? So if you take an example where there's one set of customers who don't have a personalized video and the other customer does, those who have the personalized video will convert. Convert means they either buy the product or they make an appointment to find out more about the product. And so they'll convert 40% higher rate than those who don't see the personalized video. That's an average that we see. So that's a big lift. And that's why, you mentioned Pacharee, and you're right. There's a big drive for many companies globally. And that's why we're really trying to push this out globally now. Across North America, South America, Europe, Asia, everywhere we go, we are seeing this drive to improve the digital customer experience. And COVID was a factor. It accelerated companies' need to do that. But that was already starting before COVID. And it's definitely never going to go back. They're going to have to continue to improve the digital channel. And so this 40% is a big number. The 50% here is we can reduce cost of acquisition by up to 50%. What that means is if every time you want to sell a product, you have to speak to someone in the call center or come into a store or a branch, it's expensive. A lot of those are repeating questions that can be personalized quickly and easily. And so if you do that, you can save a lot of money on the cost of conversion. And that's where that number comes from. And the bottom number, 86%, that's a number that really represents the average complete view rate of a personalized video. And it's significantly higher even than a generic video. So what it means is for the majority of people, when they have a personalized video, we've got their attention for that 1.5 minutes or so, or 2 minutes, and they get the key points. And then, so we've seen that, you know, with conversion, with engagement, that there's a big lift. And when you talk about specifically ROI, return on investment, these are just some average numbers, right? On the low end, we'll see 4 or 5 or 7 times the cost of the technology returned in sales and revenue. But we've seen 35 times, 40 times, and more. We've crossed over even 50x. That's a huge number. So it's interesting now because many companies are talking about doing this and how to, you know, accelerate the digital customer journey. This is one of the few technologies actually proven to do it on a mass scale, right? We've done that with companies. I'll just show a couple of them. These are large organizations. A lot of these are in North and South America, where we've already penetrated a lot before we were even trying to push out into other continents. There's a couple like ABN AMRO that are out of Europe, and we are starting to see a lot starting up in Asia. And this, I just actually show this slide quickly because it specifically shows how we measure ROI. So our analytics are actually very detailed. This is a view of return on investment. In other words, we take a license, and this is about an average cost of a license on a large deployment. We show how many conversions, how many people converted over a specific period of time. And we actually know the value of each conversion. We multiply that out and we get an actual value generated in sales over that time. And it shows that in this case, that's 77 times. So this would be one of the highest we've seen, but a 77 times ROI. So imagine they're returning 77 times their cost of $60,000 a year. And this actually shows a lower ROI for the month of November. So what happened in this case is in the fall, they were keeping this on smaller traffic areas of their website, but they saw it was converting a lot. So they brought it forward to some of their major pages, and then their conversion went up. So that actually just shows some of the ROI that we're seeing. And it's actually quite powerful. It surprised even us in the beginning.
Mm. So you talked about expansion, Lynn. So like, why now this global expansion? What makes this a good time and a fit specifically for the Asian market? Because it looks like based on what you're presenting here, you've been in North America and South America.
For the most part, we have. Actually, we never even tried to expand to South America. We're from Canada. It was natural for us to expand into the US, and that's become, you know, by far our, you know, kind of largest area of growth over, I'd say, the last couple of years. But then Latin America, we were at a conference, we met some partners down there, and they brought it to Latin America, and it spread quickly. And that, you know, AFP Habitat, that first video I showed, actually came from Latin America. And it's interesting how this is very much becoming a me too. In other words, when one pension fund did it, their competitor is now on our platform. Colombia's largest pension plan is now on our platform. So we're seeing it expands quickly as companies see, oh, this is a technology that actually works. So why global expansion now? Well, again, going back to these, we've seen millions and millions of views a month. We've seen the impact of it. And then there's a couple of things over here that where we have distinct advantages. Coming from financial services, Pacharee, security was key to us. We knew working with banks, insurance companies, they weren't easily going to transfer their client data for us to personalize, right? So if you're a customer and they have, you know, some of the numbers that you saw in that AFP Habitat about your savings and your investments that we need to personalize it, that's going to be difficult for them to share. So we actually had to come up with a different way of dealing with security. And we are now really unique in the sense that we don't even touch the client data. The way we do it is we can actually personalize, but we don't have visibility to the client data itself. That gives us advantages in security, but it also gives us advantages in scalability. And that's important because normally to do this, you'd need to render in the cloud, like remembering that when you create a personalized video, it has to be rendered for each view. It's unique. It's not like a generic video, which is rendered once and put up on a server and anyone can see it. This has to be rendered for each viewer. So that can be costly. But because we don't take in the client data, it's rendered locally on their device. It answers the security question, so we're not exposed to their client data. It also lowers the cost, which we then don't have to pass on. So it makes it more cost effective. So these advantages that we have, it's the right time for us to try and globalize this, as we've seen a worldwide drive to improve the customer experience online.
You say you don't have to go into the client's database to extract the information. So how does that work? Like, and how will you deliver that service coming from North America?
Well, if you look at this slide here, I'll explain how that works, right? So without getting too technical, the way it works is you have data coming from a company database, what they know about you, and it's injected into a web page. The client, the end user, also comes to that web page. This is our technology, and what we deliver is a template. In other words, the video is there, but none of the personalized data. It's created on the company's web page in real time, and the client comes directly there and gets it. So while our technology processes it in real time on a web page, we have no database. We don't access that data at all. And many tier 1 financial services have vetted that process. So that's how we're able to actually do this. And it has become a really key component of our expansion. A lot of companies have come to us specifically because they don't want to take a risk with their client data and share it with the cloud of a third-party company. So it has become an important part of what we do.
Excellent. So back to the second part of that question, Lynn. So this is all done out of Canada, or do you have data centers around? How does that work?
So we can deliver this from anywhere, right? So we're on AWS, and so we are able to have servers in multiple areas of the world. So if there's, any restrictions there, these are all global systems. So it allows us to do that. But how we're really planning to deliver this, again, we said this is a full SaaS product. In other words, our partners, like our partner in Latin America and others, are able to actually create these personalized videos. So in Asia, for example, we now partnering with Brandnow, and Brandnow will be able to connect to a partner network and have local partners who will be able to actually create these. So, right now, in Asia, in Thailand, I think you guys are somewhere around 10:30 in the morning. We're 11:30 at night here in Canada. So it would never work for language, culture. So for us to actually create all of these assets and to interact every day. So we rely on our local partners who understand the culture. They're in the right time zone. They speak the right language. It worked very well in Latin America, and we see it starting to work well in other continents as well. So our real plan to execute this from North America is through a partner network that we've seen already prove itself out.
Okay, so, and are the videos then hosted on BlueRush? And do they need to be rendered?
Typically, the videos are hosted, but those are what we would call the static assets, right? So it's not the personalized data, it's just the template that's sitting there waiting for the personalized data to come into it, which, as we can see here, only happens on the web page. We typically will host that part, although we do have the option for companies that are specifically sensitive to host all of it on their side. So this whole IndiVideo server can be hosted on premise. We do have that. And again, that's a little bit of a unique option. So it's a really very, very secure process. Again, coming from financial services, we were forced to build it that way, but it was a really good lesson because it's not the only industry that is very concerned about protecting client data.
Yes, so because there's a lot of sensitive information being shared, like bank accounts and other information, right? So how do you make this process secure? What do you guys do to ensure that?
Well, there's a couple of things. So one of them is what we just talked about. We don't access that client data. It goes directly to the individual. It's really up to each client, but in many cases, they may have to authenticate, log in. So they might put it behind their firewall and say, you can't see that information until you log in. But that's not really, our technology can do it either way. But in terms of, some of the other things, we take a really disciplined approach to this. In other words, we want to take the information that we need to personalize, but not more. We're not taking everything, right? We don't need your last name. We don't usually use it to personalize. We don't need your address. We don't need other things that are PII or personally identifiable information. So by bypassing that, that helps also lower the risk. We take just the information we need. We typically, within the video, as you even saw with Habitat, you just have a first name and some account information, but no account numbers. And then again, we're not exposed to that data directly ourselves. And that's really the most secure system on earth to do this technology. And it's been, again, vetted by a lot of the largest institutions in the world and passed very quickly, because once they do a quick test on our system, they see that, yes, in fact, that's how it works. The data is not passed to us. It goes direct to client. And so they're quite happy with that because they don't really have a security risk. The data is not being passed outside of their company firewall.
Let's go to how you deliver this process. What's the training, assistance, the creative process that takes place with creating those videos?
Great. So over here on the left side, we have a number of partners. As we mentioned, we rely on partners for real growth. And so to our partners, it's really critical that we go through that training. We've learned a lot over the years about using personalization, and really, so we try and deliver our information quickly to them. We do sales training, we do strategy workshops, and strategy is really the key. At the end of the day, anyone eventually can learn how to create a personalized video, but the strategy of understanding it, picking the right ones that are going to be successful and helping clients through. We've seen, again, clients asking for that. They ask us for strategy support. So we deliver that to our partners so they can then learn to be the strategists. We provide sales support materials. You saw a couple of examples here. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of examples that we supply them with so that they can learn how this works for different products, different industries. We even help them prepare with meetings and pricing. And then on the platform itself, to not only our partners, but to end clients who are using this, whatever industry they're in, we do workshops for video creators. So we teach their video resources how to use this with some of our top resources. We do technical workshops so that they learn to integrate the data. Again, the platform is designed to make it all easy, but we really help make it easier for them to learn by supporting them. We always do analytics workshops. So for each deployment we have, a couple of times a year, we're doing an analytics workshop where we go in, look to see how it's performing, and along with our partner and client, come up with suggestions on how it can improve. And many of these actually, sometimes they start out and they're working okay, they're doing fine, but then with some improvements, they can become like really home runs, like they're really big hits. And then we have a lot of training materials, and that's growing all the time. So training academies that show marketers how to use this technology, shows video creators how to use the technology. So lots of support, because we've seen that we want to enable people to use this technology well. Once they do and they're successful, most of these use cases, the couple, especially the one I showed, I think it's over 3 years old now for Habitat in Latin America, they tend to just stay online because they are that effective.
Thank you. So let's talk about how the video is personalized in real time, like when it asks those questions. I think those are kind of like qualifying questions, right? Like, do you have a family? Do you have a spouse? Are you planning to put some deposit down?
Yeah, so you actually saw an example with Navy Federal, that large credit union, where we just answered 3 questions. I mean, some of ours are more complex than that. Sometimes there's more questions and more paths, but this is a simple example. And you could see how after I clicked those answers, the video was made right away. And in real time, I was able to get that recommendation. Because the platform is all real time, regardless of if we just interacted with you or not, we're able to use all that data, including the answers you just gave us, and personalize on the spot. Even the other example you saw for Habitat with the pension, it asked you, do you feel you'll meet your retirement goals? If you said no, you could see where you changed what you wanted to have in retirement, and it told you, here's the new number that you need to save every month to get there. So that's all happening in real time. The whole technology is based in real time. It's interesting that none of these videos actually exist. There's no database with these videos that are stored. They exist only as code, and they're created when someone clicks to view it. That also makes it more efficient. You don't have to create millions of videos. You're only creating them when someone clicks to view. And it's not stored, which again helps with security. So because it's all in real time, we're able to interact and we're able to personalize based on that. It also means if we're pulling from a database like a customer file, and let's say something is changing even on a daily basis, like mortgage rates, we can pull that live and inject that into the personalized video as well. So the real time is important. The whole idea of active dialogue or interactions is critical, because if you think about it, you cannot get close to how a human operates unless you are able to interact. So it really was an important feature to add into the platform.
That's interesting that it doesn't exist as a video. So I can see how it can be rendered very quickly because it's just codes, right? So it's set up to plug in this data and then it processes the codes as opposed to actual images. So I think it must be pulling from where the data center is already. You talk about the financial services. Let's talk about, what do you think, since COVID has hit us all globally, what's the next big thing, that could benefit from more personalization?
That's a really interesting question. I can tell you what we're starting to see, right? So of course, financial services is a big vertical for us. Insurance is another big vertical where we've started to see, not as quick. Financial services was faster, but insurance is starting to really use this, especially for auto and home insurance quotes, but now even life insurance. Interesting, telecommunications is an area that we would have thought would go really quickly to this. They did actually a few years ago, but I don't see them using it strategically yet that much. But other areas like utilities we're starting to see a lot of them come to us and say, hey, we want to personalize the utility bill. People don't understand why it's going up and down. Why did they consume more electricity? Was it based on weather? All of these things being personalized. Retail is just getting going with this technology. We haven't seen a lot of it, but it's starting. It's going to be married with e-commerce. But healthcare is a big one. We've started to see that, and healthcare typically will follow financial services because there's kind of an overlap there of health and wealth. And so where one goes, the other goes. There's just a bit of a lag in healthcare. So those are the areas we're really seeing. But the idea of where it happens, I mean, across a customer life cycle, like you can see the whole customer life cycle here. What we try and tell people is, yes, you're going to start somewhere. Even a large bank is going to decide on a specific use case. But it doesn't matter if it's on acquisition at the beginning of a customer life cycle or onboarding, ongoing communications or statements. The idea is if you're really going to improve the whole digital customer experience, you need to touch the whole customer experience. And so those clients we've seen use the technology best are actually working on an enterprise level, and all of their customer touch points become personalized and interactive. And then they can really say they are transforming the customer experience.
Okay, it's good that you mentioned that, at which level, right? So now let's talk about in terms of at which point in the customer life cycle should companies be thinking about, oh, now it's the customer has reached a certain stage and this is a good time to, engage them in this way or that way.
Yeah, it's a great question. And a lot of times, to be honest, for customers who are interested in this technology, whether they're banks or they're healthcare, they tend to say, oh, okay, we could see that this would work in 10 different areas. And so there's a discipline to where to start, right? And typically we'll look for that, like in a Venn diagram, you have two big circles and where the overlap is. So one big circle would be your pain point. Where are you losing customers in the digital channel? And the other big circle would be volume. Where are you communicating with the greatest number of customers? And the overlap of those two is typically the starting point. That's the place where you're going to have the most impact. So that's how we try and coach customers and our partners to find the right places to start. But as we said, those are just starting points. Really, we encourage them to systematically go at their whole customer life cycle. And it can take years, of course, to get there, but it's an important transformation because once they do that, they see that, wow, our customers are actually engaging more, converting more. We can lower our costs. They don't have to call the call center for every single question. We can answer a lot of them, whether it's on a bill that's a personalized video now, whether it's a new customer, we can interact with them. So it's really a question of finding the right place to start for sure, but then being systematic about how this spreads across your entire company experience and your real customer life cycle journey.
Yes, and now with the whole work from home, I don't know if you've experienced it in Canada, but since the recent Thai government announcement, every time I've been trying to call the customer service, it's really difficult to get a rep online now. I think it's because there's legacy systems, they're still using, and physically the customer rep still has to go to the call center. So it's difficult, I think, to reroute the calls to either the mobile phones or in a different telephony system. Let's talk about BlueRush. What makes you more competitive or the choice for these potential enterprises?
Sure, it's a great question. And just before we leave this, I'd just like to say, that's not what you just mentioned about having trouble getting through to a call center. That's not limited to Thailand or Asia or anywhere. We're seeing that across the planet, everywhere. Call centers have lineups. Certainly at the beginning of COVID, it was even worse because they weren't even used to working from home. So call centers were completely jammed. But even today, there are big problems with call centers being way over budget. And so, it basically tells you it's a weakness in the online channel that you can't solve these questions that are solvable with technology. And a lot of companies aren't doing it yet. But getting to your next question, Pacharee, about what gives us a competitive edge. So we talked about a couple of things in scalability, data security. Those are what I would call the big stick, right? Like they're black and white, they're technical advantages. And so they've served us well. But there's a couple of other softer advantages that I think are important. And so one of them we touched on a little bit is the support we give. But I will say that, clients who come to us often will come to us and recommend us based on the support and our partners' support. We train our partners to deliver that same kind of support because companies don't know how to use this technology. It's usually new to them. So they need that support and guidance on how to effectively do that from the beginning right through till the end. And then that leads to data insights. The data insights tell clients, how are they doing? How are they performing, engaging their customers? Sometimes we get direct feedback, as you saw with Habitat, whether the customers are happy with this. You're getting ROI, conversion metrics. So having done a lot of work to deliver not just typical video data where you could see, did people watch the video or not, but actual actions they took, revenue it's generating. Those are fairly unique in the video area. And so these are strategic advantages. We spent a lot of time and effort on the security side, on the complex dashboards we have. And in many cases, our clients actually take our dashboards, use our API, and connect it into their own CRM or other analytics for their customers so that they can capture the insights we're getting. Because you can imagine if we're learning about a customer because a customer said, oh, I'm not on track to meet my retirement goals, but here's what I think I need to be on track. They want to capture that and speak to that in the future. So I would say together, these points represent the strategic advantages that we have that we are trying to now really globalize.
Yes, with the expansion in Asia, what does IndiVideo aim to solve for businesses?
Well, I think this is a pretty good summary of what it's trying to solve, right? So what is missing in the digital channel today, to be really simple, is it's not human. And there's really little in the way of assistance. It's a self-serve adventure in the online channel today for individual customers to go and find the information, read through. And it's a real disconnect from the way, we know based on typical attention spans, people aren't doing this, but companies still continue to deliver information in generations old formats like text. So we know that really what we're solving for is that. What is it that's missing in the digital channel? And what we're trying to do is bit by bit, keep improving the technology to bring more human elements, never to replace humans. They'll always be best at dealing with complex issues. But a lot of the simple questions, which is the right mortgage for me? Am I on track to meet my retirement goals? Is my utility bill really right? What was the reason it's higher? We can answer these with interactive, personalized technology. That's what we're really solving. And we feel we have a strong technology to fill some of that gap. And we think that's what's driving the positive results that we're seeing on behalf of the customers who are using the platform.
Great. So before, because I think we have roughly around 5 minutes left, I just have a question because I used to be head of CRM for a very large motor company, an American car maker, and I had two responsibilities in that area for the CRM. One was the customer satisfaction center, taking in the data based on whatever is happening with the client and trying to solve those issues, or sometimes the dealers that are calling in through that. And the other side was the lead generation. I'm wondering have you seen or have already implemented or deployed a campaign where this was a lead gen from the beginning? Or is that the Navy Federal was a lead gen, but from an existing database?
Yeah, we've started to see automotive and other places use it in different ways to generate leads. Sometimes it'll be, leads from an existing pool that they're targeting. Other times it'll even start to be used in advertising. Right. So in the credit card area, we have a bank that has tried using it in ads where they actually personalize the rewards you could get based on an interactive ad that's very quickly personalized. Then you click through where you can apply. So we're seeing it used in lead gen in different ways. And it's a really interesting journey as we start to see this roll out through different customer touch points and we learn as well on how customers are interacting with it, right through from the very beginning as a lead, all the way down the path. So we are starting to see all of those things happen. And I would say the majority actually of the deployments on the platform are in the acquisition area. It's not always lead gen. Sometimes the leads are already coming in and we're trying to convert them. But acquisition globally, from lead gen right through to conversion, is probably where still the majority of our use cases are.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you so much for that, Lynn. I see Kazi has put on the side chat here, if anybody would like to ask Lynn any questions, you can either type it or you can unmute yourself. I think Lynn and Elizabeth are going to stay online for a few more moments, because what time is it now in Canada for you guys?
Oh, we're coming up on midnight.
Wow. Thank you so much for making the time to do this.
Oh, happy to do it.
Does anybody have any questions? So if I don't see raising of hands or anything else, I think we can close out this session. For everybody else, if you have anything that you want to address as post session, please feel free to drop us an email. We had sent that out a little bit earlier in our EDM, as well as I think also through the calendar reminder. Again, thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Elizabeth, for making time today. And we don't want to keep you guys up too late for tomorrow day. So Adika, thank you, everyone, and thank you, Kazi, for your help in getting this organized.
Thanks all. Much appreciate
Thank
everyone
you
spending the
all.
time.
Thank you.